referring to a breakthrough initiative by students of the Lisbon Consortium, the first next-gen exhibition at Galeria Amélia de Mello. Let me start by thanking all those who have not only participated, but curated, created, made this exhibition possible. The early career researchers and my dear colleague, Professor Luísa Santos. Silence in Pieces is a timely exhibit. At a time of so many contradictory narratives, the place of art and its role in criticizing the noise in the public space by using silence strategically as a meaning-making tool becomes effectively apparent in the works that will be showcased in this exhibition.
This is an exhibition which was curated by the MA and PhD students of the Lisbon Consortium. They are students in cultural studies, and we have a seminar in curatorial practices. And we cannot speak of curatorial practices without practicing them. So they curated this collective exhibition about silence as a powerful tool. And each of the work is in fact an act of silence, and how silence can do something in terms of society and culture as well.
Neste trabalho sobre a guerra colonial, eu fui trabalhar as imagens que eu fui descobrindo na Feira da Ladra. E digamos que é a primeira vez que eu estou quase que a ficcionar sobre o assunto. O que me aconteceu ao longo das minhas diversas idas à Feira da Ladra, eu procurava muitas fotografias, mas sem nenhum motivo especial. Comecei-me a perceber que, e até comecei isso pela parte estética, ou seja, que uma certa estética dos anos 60, 70, na maneira de vestir, nas poses, começaram-me a aparecer muitas imagens de mulheres sozinhas, que é uma coisa que, conhecendo bem a situação portuguesa dos anos 60, 70, não era muito normal as mulheres fotografarem-se sozinhas. Um regime muito fechado e muito, não permitia, digamos, quase que essa benesse das mulheres se retratarem individualmente. E eu criei, digamos, que essa ficção, porque estas mulheres eram mulheres que estavam sozinhas durante esse período, e estas fotografias eram tiradas para enviar aos seus cônjuges, namorados, pais, irmãos, amantes, possivelmente, também deve ter acontecido. Eu poderia ter utilizado as fotografias só, mas eu gosto sempre de fazer uma pequena intervenção nessas coisas, digamos assim, que não são minhas. E eu tinha uns autocolantes que tinham um círculo vermelho, eram transparentes e eram um círculo vermelho. Então eu coloquei sobre a parte do rosto dessas mulheres, coloquei esse círculo vermelho, e era uma forma de chamar a atenção do espectador para a cara delas, que geralmente não é uma cara, na maior parte das vezes não é uma cara sorridente, não é uma cara bem disposta, dar-lhes uma dimensão e uma quase que grandiosidade da banalidade com que elas foram encontradas. E, portanto, relembrar esta época, relembrar o que estas mulheres passaram, relembrar como elas foram esquecidas, relembrar que também foram vítimas da guerra, é uma coisa que eu acho importantíssima.
There's this poem about the queen wandering out to listen to the thunderstorms, and And from there, she would get her inspiration and war strategies. And then I kind of recreated that story with two sisters having a conversation, and still writing the whole poem in this Bedouin folklore telling way, with the sisters having this conversation. And in the film, you see a thunderstorm in the background of these banana leaves, because the banana leaves are also described in her garden, where she had it imported from a faraway place to have in her what kingdom, as she called it, is the pearl. And I just saw her standing there in her garden and listening to the thunderstorm. And then there was this other story that this thunderstorm never really existed, that it was just her emotions. And that's why it's not that clear in the film, but it's very clear in the sound of it. So you get the rumbling of the thunderstorm when you listen to it. I think what's very prominent in my work and referring to the Bedouin culture is the language. And the language for me is the main source to tell a story. And I think that adapting that language makes it easier for me to also understand a lot of stories that have been told as I was raised, and using it and kind of adapting it into my everyday life and my art. My background is mainly photography, so I studied alchemy for a lot of years, and always been doing these alchemical processes in the darkroom. And that's why I wanted to kind of have this silvery effect. Abba Khan was one of the few who actually documented the region that was known as the Middle East back then, and a lot of the films looked like that, and I kind of wanted to recreate that aesthetics as well. I photographed some of the areas in the botanical garden in Lisbon, just to also kind of have an archive. So it wasn't just the film, but I made some photographs as well. Right now, there's an area in Copenhagen there's a sculpture with a poem that I wrote, and it's a permanent thing in Copenhagen that you can see. And that poem is also a print, so you can buy the print with the poem. And the poem is about a mother who tries to find new seeds to plant for a new nation. And for every poem sold, it goes to the application fees. Politically, artistically, but personally, I would say that I wish someone had stepped in and said, I would change this for you as a stateless artist. And I think that I should be doing that now. Now I have the possibility to help stateless artists.
So it's one of my very early works. I was still studying, and we got this abandoned house, and we're really free to explore the space and our practice. And somehow it's still one of my favorite works, and somehow it still feeds into in German it's a lustvoll approach, a very enjoyable, basic approach to movement and how we behave in spaces, and how the movement of the space, but also the space, influences our behavior. So that's something that lies very deep in my work. In the video, I start to smash this very fine porcelain and kind of own the space in a different way, and then I just disappear in a very harmless way. And I like this switch between how things appear and how system appears, and how you can alter them in a charming and playful way. And in this particular case, I found it very interesting that people went into the space and bit by bit could discover different layers, and also see you enter the space and it was a place of destruction, and bit by bit they saw how this happened. So it's a very graduate understanding of the work, and what's left of that is the video. So it's, for me, it's interesting to see what will happen in another space, in another setting. Of course, it's interesting to see if, someone will push something over and join me in this very enjoyable process. This feeling one has when you have something, you touch some objects and you immediately feel like, I hope I'm not gonna drop them. So I was like, why not give in? And why not give in into this this fear or this feeling to be like, okay, I just do the opposite. I take the power and do the opposite of what everyone is supposed to do with these fine objects. Also, I think it comes from a family history of my mother putting a lot of effort into laying tables and being accurate with the rules of how to dine and how to entertain, and then reflecting on that. And if you continue to be like your parents, and if you break out that system, and as I said, I was quite young, so it was in the beginning of my studies, and every now and then I could hear someone breaking something, and then I felt like, yeah, that's nice that people felt like it's an interesting thing, how with interactive installations, especially, how you say this is finished and this is not to be touched anymore, or this is open to be altered. And I find it very exciting to not explicitly say do it. And in my experience, people are very very good and not testing the boundaries too much.
So our first approach to this piece was related with the concept of light. So we are used to bright, shining lights in our modern and fast-paced lifestyle, but we are not expecting to read a refugee camp in such an advertised kind of way. But in fact, this piece is a part of a bigger sentence. It's I have never seen, and then a refugee camp. And the whole piece was shown firstly in Germany. And then the first part was shown earlier this year at Nanogaleria. And the second, the refugee camp part, is going to be presented in Católica's gallery. And the decision to expose only this second part was very much related to the idea of moving away from the individual perspective of the artist, so the eye of the artist, into a collective experience of shedding light on such a communally thought idea as a refugee camp and all the considerations and problems that it englobes. So in this way, we thought that the silence on this issue was given light by breaking it into pieces through the somewhat ordinary power of electricity to the extraordinary power of awareness, empathy, and most of all, art's potential to raise them.